Good morning, friends. This is a nice time to really get connected with all of my industry friends on occasion of Independence Day. ScaleverS take this opportunity to welcome you all for this web meet. At this occasion, let us salute our all warriors who sacrificed their lives. Last 4 months, every industry, including pharma, was moving against the COVID-19 current. We learned, managed, innovated, virtually connected, winning our customer confidence. Let me just introduce the agenda which we're talking about today. I think I will take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Prashant Menon. He's a founder of Workplace Dynamics. He's a marketing influencer, leadership consultant, and executive coach. He's also been delivered a session for us, and he's come with 25 years of learning experience in the pharma industry. I have a company worked with the Cipla, Sun Pharma, Ranbaxy, Alchem, Glenmark, Alembic, Vanbury, Exceltis, which was the last role as a MD. Is including building leadership teams, organization culture, managing complex, large organization, and turning around the companies through strategic and operational interventions. Driving by people centrically as a core in driving organization change and ensuring sustainable growth. He is a visiting faculty at Narasimha Institute of Management Studies in Mumbai since 2017. He is a certified executive team coach by Marshall Goldsmith Coaching, the global #1 executive coaching company. He is also a recipient of top 100 marketing influencer of in 2016, recognized by World Marketing Congress, member of Leaders Excellence at Harvard Square. Mr. Prashant, over to you to unveil the theme of the paper as well as the agenda.
Thank you, Kalai. Can we
I am continuing the sharing as the slide. I'll be few slides I'll show from my side.
Sure. Yes. Can we move to the next, Kalai?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. I know it's a holiday, and there are a lot of things that you might want to do in terms of unwinding yourselves and spending time with your family. You chose to spend these couple of hours with us, and we hope to see that it will certainly be beneficial. And if there are a couple of takeaways that you will have at the end of the couple of hours today, I think we would have really cherished the time that we spent together. So it's a new normal that we have been hearing this often used word, so much so that it has gone on to an excessive usage. And what are we trying to do here over the next few minutes is try and unravel this new normal state, from the perspectives of various speakers, various thoughts that we have, and we'll be glad to receive your comments towards the end of the session, where we can have these questions that can be posed to any one of us. The next slide, Kalai. So we'll be focusing the day today in terms of various forums. What's the new normal in life? There's a lot that's changed around us. There's a lot that's going to be the way of let's say our day-to-day conduct as a person, as a professional, as a family member, as a friend. We will have a look at what's the new normal at work. I mean, we've got many things that are changing. The entire paradigm of work has been redefined today. What does work stand for? I mean, work earlier was only in the concretized spaces in the cubicles or the office buildings. But today that work dimensions has changed completely. The new normal at business, there's a new way to look at it. There's a new way to look at it, and this way will keep evolving as we spend time. And we've got some interesting sessions lined up that will come up. And finally, we'll try and connect these three different worlds of the life, the work, and the business, in terms of what's going to be our main takeaways, the way that we should actually start looking at things ahead. The next slide, please. Yeah, you're going back. Yep. Thank you. So what I'm going to set up as a start for the program for the day today is, how do we lead ourselves into this post-COVID recovery? There's a lot that's been spoken. There's a lot that's been heard. There's a lot that we keep speaking and hearing. Now, while we get into these, there are three broad themes that I would like to set the tone for this meeting today. The first one being, Kalai, next slide. What's been the unexpected high points brought on by the crisis, which are today waning? We've had a plethora of quick decision making. I think we've really been fighting against time, running against the old let's say antecedents, the thought processes. We've really tried to do meetings that are very efficient. I think we've now into close to the fifth month of a remote kind of a working scenario, and the efficiency of meetings starts getting a challenge. They start declining, and it's important to have these honest, concise, and frequent communications with the team. They need to be a lot more authentic. They need to be a lot more empathetic in the way we really approach, what's the kind of high points that we have. There's an entire freedom that we had in the beginning to organize the day and the work from home. And I think we all realize that these lines have blurred beyond the point that one really does not know when is work and when is home time, given the scenario that we actually operate in today. Informal and authentic team interactions. I mean, there were times when we would long to get back to these informal and authentic meetings, the face-to-face meetings, I mean, the office, the pat on the back. These are the high points that is expected. And as we get into the post-COVID scenario, it will be interesting to see how do we leverage these areas or this particular theme, let's say, coming forward. The next slide. There's another interesting aspect that I thought I must bring to the table is what's been the unresolved tangle of emotions. I mean, we've really, on speaking to many leaders, many colleagues across the industry, and even friends across different industries, we've suddenly as leaders learned a lot more about ourselves. I mean, there are people who we see discovering various things that was kept on the back burner, despite trying to manage and juggle the work from home, despite trying to meet these deadlines, despite trying to be creative. We've really, I think, explored a lot about ourselves much more. And we've also known much more of our colleagues, especially the ones who are our direct reports, the skip level, who are the ones who rise to the occasion. We've also come to know who are the ones where they seem to be a little out of sorts, and we need to either support them or we need to really find out the ways and means that they can be better utilized. Who are the people who support? Which people have been snapping at various things? I mean, at uncalled times, at uncalled deadlines. Which are the people who really dares to break the guidelines, break the timelines, and actually move ahead and come with something that's path breaking? The ones who fall silent. I mean, we've seen so many people that have been a part of this entire journey. And how do these things really evolve as the crisis will start unfolding? And let's try and hear some of the wonderful panelists that will be there in the next few minutes, trying to really talk about their own versions of how these emotions can certainly be untangled. The next slide. And finally, the burden of work ahead. As you keep reading, I think clamping a lockdown was easier than the release of the lockdowns. We've seen mini lockdowns, micro lockdowns, floor lockdowns happening in residential complexes. Suddenly somebody is not allowed to move out because of a lot of COVID scenarios. And it's really dawning on us. It's really dawning on leaders, on employees, on executives, on stakeholders, that the lockdown was just the acute part and the crisis has to be better managed going forward. What's that we need to do to engage a lot more with a lot of profound and adaptive challenges? These are compelling thoughts that we'll have to bring into our business understanding and into the way we lead teams, the way we conduct ourselves, and That's the best stepping stone that I can have. The next slide, Kalai. That's the best stepping stone that I can have to introduce the next topic, or the first topic that we will actually have, called the new normal at life. To have us deliberate on this, the next slide, please. I'm very happy and proud to announce the person is Mr. Vijayendran. I think he's been a person whom I've known for a long time. We've had two companies where we've shared, I think, the same working space. Certainly, Ranbaxy was a time where I got to see him up close. He's currently the president of India business at Intas Pharmaceuticals, a very wide therapeutic understanding of both human and animal health. And today, these are all massive industries that we actually speak about. Previous assignments have been Alchem, Ranbaxy, Ordain, Orchid, Daiichi Sankyo. These are all have been the apex roles where he's been playing a stellar role in various functions that he's been handling. Managed across the spectrum, acute, chronic, and let's even add a subchronic segment as well. Path-breaking strategy has been his forte, whether it's business or it's people, bifurcating them into businesses from a concept of a customer getting saturated or brands getting saturated. I mean, that's the way forward that he's always been trying to see in his various domains that he's been playing. Looked after all the functions. I mean, being an apex role, one certainly has a direct influence and a facilitation role in sales, marketing, medical, PPIC, distribution, human resources, and the administrative related operations to do with the domestic. He's also had stints abroad, as I know, which he's not really mentioned here, but yes, he's been working abroad as well in various companies. He's set up the operations of Daiichi Sankyo in India and actually commercialized its business entry through an out-licensing model. An alumni of the Jamnalal Bajaj. He's also been a part of the IIM Calcutta for, let's say, programs, and extremely involved in a lot of corporate strategies in various roles. With this, can I invite Mr. Vijayendran to take up the session on new normal at life? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prashant. That was one too many accolades that you try to put against my name. Whether I deserve it or not, I really am not too sure about it. Can I take charge of the presentation, and can you stop presenting, Kalai?
Yes, sir. I'm doing it, sir. I hope you are visible, sir.
Yeah.
I hope that the slides are visible, right?
Yeah, I'm. One moment, please. Is it visible?
No, slides are not visible.
1 minute, sir.
No.
Kalai, can you stop presenting, Kalai?
No.
Yes, we can now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yes, wonderful. Good morning, everybody. And I think it's a wonderful day to sit down, introspect, and try and get a hang of where we are, what we need to do, and how we move ahead. A very small change that happened while we all were asleep a couple of months back, and the new normal began to creep its way into our life. And I think that is precisely the point that I would like to share today, though work and business-wise, both Vivek and Sandeep, being experts in their field, would provide tremendous insights. I'll try and see what is the kind of habit, behavior, attitude, and skill sets that we need to adapt in terms of the changed scenario and what we need to do in the new life order. If you really look at some of the witnesses that have happened to us till today and the impact, they're tremendous. You come across new words, globalization, you have global people, local actions, local visits, global markets, new terminologies are coming our way. All of us are pretty worried about an uncertain tomorrow because we don't know whether there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. We've all compromised, as Prashant was saying, for the last 5 months, a complete lack of entertainment, a lack of interface, interacting with people. And thereby you're getting into a syndrome of boredom, depression, and not knowing what to do. There's a distancing which is taking place because activities have shrunk. Activities have got down to the laptops, the Teams meetings, a couple of work from home screens, emails, and a couple of phone calls. And that defines the workspace which is now governing us. And we are all beginning to understand, is this going to be the new workspace for us? It also brings into perspective that a very important element which has been going on throughout the world, work from home concept. And initially, when me and my family went to the UK and we had in the erstwhile Ranbaxy office work from home, I was taken aback and I said, what's this? Take work from home 20 years back. So children coming and asking, Dad, you're not going to work today. And the reality of that is just beginning to set in now, where we realize work is omnipresent and it can happen from anywhere, anytime, and any place. And very importantly, and I've experienced this as recently as yesterday, I was chatting with a friend of mine and I got into a syndrome of saying, if you are chatting with me, you need to give me undivided attention. I can't wait for your responses. And that's a very telling statement, because on reflection, you realize work from home means there can be multiple levels of influences coming your way, your family, your friends, your relatives, your children, your work partners, your colleagues, your bosses, your subordinates. So your ability to train your mind to interface at every place and condition the person opposite you to say, look, this is the new normal I'm going through, please try and understand, is a very, very important learning. And in that learning space is the belief that you got to keep your calm, you got to keep your understanding of what we have to do, be focused on what is it that you want to communicate, find the opportunity, communicate, and be done with it. And that is a very, very critical learning that we all are going to go through in the days ahead of us. Very important. Media consumption profile has dramatically changed our lives. It's digital, 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 and digital. We don't want to see the physical media for the fear of the virus coming into place, whether it's surface-borne transmission, etc., etc. So we are getting used to the digital. So what's going to happen is there is a barrage of information coming into your mind, and your mind is not accepting it very easily. And that's where the three principles of Ogilvy come to play for advertising to be very effective. And I recall this in my Bajaj days, and none other than Professor Tarun Gupta was taking this class. When he laid down the three fundamental principles of Ogilvy, he said, your business plan has got to have strategic correctness, it has to be unexpected, and it has to be creatively well executed. So he said strategic relevance, unexpectedness, and creative excellence are the three hallmarks of excellent media interface. And you see all this very beautifully happening with Amul. Even to this day, there's no boredom setting in, despite all of us seeing this for the last 30, 40 years. And this is an area that the entire industry lacks today. Today, it's viewed by saying whether my media is 5 minutes longer, 6 minutes longer, 3 minutes longer. A customer doesn't have more than 15, 20 seconds to remain with your brand. And therefore, the whole concept of branding, giving a message, core message. I recall the days when I used to be in the class and we used to have a circular time with Tarun Gupta. He's standing in the center and asking a very important question. What is it that is important for us? He will say, brand name or the message? How strongly do you communicate the brand name? What are the color elements that come into it? So the new elements are going to be, you've got to redefine 15, 20, 30-year-old concepts and try and see whether they are applicable to us in today's context or not. And that is going to be a very critical element for every one of us present here. We've also encouraged bulk purchasing during the entire pandemic times. Don't have times to go out. We are trying to see how to get into the concept of storage. Go back 20 years, Your family, your grandfather, your grandmother, your parents taught you the concept of buying provisions for one full year, storing them well, using it. Nuclear families came into place and started using them on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. Nowadays, it is also a meal basis. The pandemic in the last 5 years, 5 months has taught us how we look at encouraged bulk purchasing, negotiation. The transport industry has dramatically changed. Social distancing has put us into a quandary. Social gatherings, partying, the whole paradigm of what was believed to be a togetherness, a party culture, a meeting culture has moved into independent solo activities, merged with what the past had to give to us in terms of learning. So if you really ask me from a life perspective, I am revisiting today what my mother and my father taught me of buying and keeping for the whole month. The day salary would come, they would buy provisions for the whole month. We started the concept of going to the shopping malls every weekend and buying stuff for the week. And then we started having something called as home delivery, the Amazons promising one-day delivery. People went to the extent of saying everyday delivery as well. So we may have to relook the entire paradigms of how we are working together in the past. And today's family get-togethers have become virtual, quite literally. And therefore, to be honest, while we are having this meeting online today, the kind of teething troubles that one goes through, the kind of comments that we have to have, the kind of learnings that we have to have is surely path-breaking understanding for us to make sure we don't commit those mistakes and have a smooth transition into the next world order. If we don't have this transition, the new normal at life is going to be defined by chaos. The life is going to be taking into uncertainty because we don't know whether technology is going to work and help us or not. So therefore, there's a predetermined concept of a 10-15 minutes free login to make sure that your life is not going to be disrupted by a technology which controls or supports you. Very briefly into the pharmaceutical industry, the entire paradigms have changed. Vivek and Sandeep will touch this more in detail, and I don't want to take away their time, excepting I would only like to add one point over here. The second last point is very fundamental to the way we do the business. Going forward, it's going to be advantage big brands. Our industry has never seen any kind of paradigm shifts or change for the last 50 years. There is a concept of a detailer, there's a concept of a detailing man, there's a concept of a doctor, there's a concept of a samples, there's a concept of a CRM, there's a concept of a CME, and it has remained all through. These months are going to be the defining moments for us to understand what can we do to try and change the new order into something which is dramatic, which is conceptual, which is clear, which rattles up the doctor's imagination, and he says, I love that, and I'm going to be there with him. We're going to bring that moment of joy, or that mojo as we call it, to an organization person who uses the media innovatively, creatively, and excels in communicating his product message to the customers, which means if I have a large brand, I stand to gain. The entire industry has seen large brands have not suffered in the last 5 months as compared to the marginalized brands, which brings to the fore the concept of promotion and a marketing orientation is not enough. You've got to build quantum jump, and to build quantum jump, you need to have substantiality, you need to have size, and you need to think big. You may operate with 3 or 4 or 5 brands. Don't bring the concept of one too many and say, during the concept of this pandemic, let me bring tremendous amount of SKUs, brands, try to fill the customer. No, that's not going to help. Restrict yourself to the lovely concept of the Pareto principle: 20% of the business, 20% of the customers give me 80% of the business, and the balance 20 I leave it aside to all the the who's and what's of the world. So believe in that concept. So get your past principles of marketing all the more established today, which will help us move into the new order. My belief from a new constants, The digitization is going to be here to stay. It'll change rapidly the way we do work, the way we communicate with people, the way we possibly interface with each other. I'm using an example just to communicate a point of view to you. Other than the concept of meeting pleasure physically, everything else can happen from a digital perspective, which the last 5 months has brought to fore. People have compromised the physical joy of seeing each other in the pandemic situations and learning the new life, how it is going to be. So we need to adapt to this lifestyle if we have to remain sane, orderly, and also fulfilling in the days to come. Brand building, as I believe, will have a tremendous push in the days ahead. You may have a CRM assisted model taking place in many organizations, but unless you build the concept of strategic relevance, creative excellence, and unexpectedness through the three fundamental principles, your brand building will suffer. So we have to make sure our brand building is caught every time at the forefront as the engine of success for us. And that's what we need to do. Chronic therapies will drive growth for the future for sure, but I'm also beginning to see the subacute or subchronic therapy will play a role. And as I see it, possibly a new media will emerge with the pharmacist playing a very critical role in the usage of acute therapies in the days to come. And the customer interactions will be replaced by holistic engagement, in terms of driving long-term support. So you got to be interfacing with your customers on an ongoing basis every time. So to sum, I will just put up, we need to embrace this change, be happy about it. Do not worry that we are not getting the past pleasures of meeting each other personally, and get into the concept, seeing each other, talking to each other, knowing that somebody is present somewhere, and that digitization brings you together is going to be the genesis. You got to be adapting the disruptive elements of your life as a new order. It becomes easier for us to adapt. And this journey will have to be done through the digitized route, and going forward, adapting them as a new norm of our corporate life. And that these are some of the few thoughts that I leave with you, and I'm sure you will enjoy the subsequent thoughts which come from the other two eminent speakers, and Prashant is going to articulate them all into a very structured set of question and answers which he will pose to all of us, and we'll be quite glad to answer them to you in the days to come. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. And I'm sure a lot of questions will be there. We are here for the next hour and a half, and we'll be very glad to answer many of these from work point of view, business point of view, and life point of view. Thank you very much. And Prashant, take over, please.